Hi guys, how's it going? My name
Hey
is
everyone.
Ciara Heenan and from Ciara Heenan Consulting, and I'm an inner power educator and a life and business coach and mentor. And I get the pleasure of being here to introduce and to interview Karl Davidson. So hi Karl, how's it going?
Hey Ciara, all good, all good.
I'm looking at your t-shirt. Start unknown, finish unforgettable.
It's a great t-shirt, isn't it?
Where did you get it?
I got it actually at a JT Fox event last November. So he had a bit of merchandise there. So I saw it and I was like, that's a great t-shirt, because you know what? Everyone kind of starts unknown, and then it's like once they get there and they do their thing, then they're unforgettable. You know?
For sure. You got to do a bit of work to get to the finish unforgettable stage,
Absolutely.
Don't you though?
Yeah, absolutely.
Would you like to tell people who you are, a bit about who you are and what it is that you do?
Awesome. So hello. Listen, Ciara, thank you so much for having me on this. You know, I really do appreciate the opportunity as well. So my name is Karl Davidson and I'm a money mindset coach for Epic Hearts Club. And what we do there is we kind of talk a little bit about the subject of money. We talk a little bit about mindset towards money, how we go from a scarcity mindset to an abundant mindset. And, you know, I coach you through that. I help you through that. I help you see different sides of the coin. I help you understand where you're at in life, where you want to get to. And that's pretty much it. You know, in the crux of it, that's pretty much it. It's really simple, straightforward. Anyone can get it. Not everyone will, but anyone can get it, you know?
I like the fact that you're talking about simplicity. And to be fair, that's not really all that you do, because you have a huge skill set when it comes to getting people from where they are to where they would like to be. And I'd love to know where you got that skill set. Was there somebody who kind of kicked that off for you?
That is a great question. Oh my God. Yeah. So basically, okay, for me, my biggest shift in life came at around the age 25. And one of the mentors who I have a similar story to would be Jim Rohn. He started off at 25 as well. And when I look back at my life when I was 25, I had done basically what society told me to do, or I was programmed to do by my parents. You know, I went to school, I got good grades, I was really good at maths, I was really good at engineering. I kind of fell into the whole electrical engineering side of thing. It was between like electrical or mechanical or some sort of physics. Now, I didn't really like numbers back then, and you know, now I love them, but that was through personal development and growth. But again, I did things like, you know, I went to school, I got good grades. I wasn't really an A student. I was kind of like a CB student, and there was a few subjects that, you know, I didn't particularly like English. I didn't like poetry, didn't like any of that sort of stuff. But what I did like was geography. I love geography, and that leads me into you know, the travel aspect as well. I love geography. I love David Attenborough. I used to love listening to him. I still do. I still watch his stuff. I've got some signed photographs from him that Brona introduced me to. And it was absolutely incredible. She did that as just a little surprise. But yeah, so I did that. I went and I finished my Leaving Cert in Ireland. We have the Leaving Cert, and I was 17 when I finished. I went straight into college, and I did 3 years of college and with electrical engineering degree, which was fantastic. I then straight into you know, a big career job, as they say. I went in and I started traveling with the job. Within the first 6 weeks, they had shipped me off to Holland, or the Netherlands, as they say. And then I went to Taiwan, I went to Japan, I went to America. I did a lot of travel for 2.5 years. And that just opened up my mind to different cultures, different, you know, I had my 21st in Japan, like, and you know, that's a cool thing to, I know, like, that's a cool thing to say, like, because most people when they're 21, you know, they rent out a room, especially in Ireland, they rent out a room, they have, you know, their friends and stuff. Like, I had like a 21st in Japan, which is really, really cool. And I did that for about 3.5 years. But I remember when I was 20, and I remember in, you know, when I was just finishing up my college degree, I was sitting in the canteen in DIT Kevin Street, and I just said, like, is this it? You know, I finished my degree. Do I have to work now for 40 odd years? And I was like, there has to be more. There has to be more. And I wasn't really aware. I wasn't really sure of what was happening. But I did, you know, as I said, I did what society had programmed me to do. I did what my parents told me to do. And yeah, like, it wasn't until then I met Brona at the age of 25. We met online, we were chatting, and it was just incredible. And what happened was I actually went off and I started working over in a company called Toshiba. Now, I wasn't working directly for them, but I was contracted into them. So I went to Japan, and Brona had introduced me to a book called Rich Dad Poor Dad. And she introduced me to another book called Dale Carnegie, How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Brilliant.
And before that, 2 to 3 years before that, I had a moment in my life where basically I was renting a house, and I was renting. I was a tenant in the house, and I was spending mad money. I was spending crazy money. Like, I was getting money in, and it was going out as quick. And, you know, I was spending like €500-600 on t-shirts and trainers and clothes and stuff like that. And I was getting into bad debt. And it was a kind of muddled period of my life. And I was about 23 at the time. I came out of a relationship as well. And I remember just looking at myself in the mirror, and I was looking at my body, and I was just like, Karl, you need to go to the gym. And this all feeds in. Don't worry, you know, I know I'm rambling, but this all feeds in.
No, it's all good.
And I was 23, and I remember looking at myself. I was like, Karl, you got to get to the gym, man. You got to start working out, like, and start looking good and stuff like that. So I joined the local gym, and I remember going into the gym, and I was like, okay, what do I do now? Like, do I need to get motivated? How do I get motivated? So I just literally clicked YouTube, and I just typed in motivation, and Eric Thomas came up, and he was like a complete and utter game changer. That was like one moment in my life where it was a complete and utter wow, like, whoa, there was so much in there. And then from Eric Thomas led me on to Les Brown. So Eric Thomas is like hard hitting, like which I loved, and I still love. And this was, you know, nearly 6 years ago. And then I got onto the more gentle, softer, kind of more mindset Les Brown approach. And that was like really interesting. So I had dabbled a little bit into like personal development, but I didn't know. I only used it for motivation in the gym. Fast forward, you know, 2-3 years, I was 25, met Brona, she gave me a Rich Dad Poor Dad book. And that's a whole different story, and I can chat about that as well. But then I was listening to Dale Carnegie, and, you know, talk about an aha moment. I remember walking down a busy street on the suburbs of Tokyo, a city called Mito. And I was walking there, and next minute, Dale Carnegie said something to me. I had it in my, I can read obviously, but I'm not a great reader. I tend to lose focus very quickly, and which I'm working on all the time. And I was listening into him, and I was just like, oh my God, he said a sentence that would like completely stop me in my tracks. Literally, as I was crossing the road in Japan, stopped me in my tracks. And he said, do you control your emotions, or do your emotions control you? And when I heard that, I just went, whoa, that was like a complete and utter paradigm shift. And then from then, I just immersed myself into personal development, learning about financial education, traveling more. I went to my first big ever event in 2016 with over 4,500 people, and it was just electric. I was like, whoa. I came out of there, started listening to Eric Thomas and Les Brown again. And then I understood. Then I was aware. Then I was like, oh, that's what he's talking about. That's what he's, you know, the seed had been set by Eric Thomas and Les Brown a couple of years ago. But then I was like, oh my God, now I get it. Now I understand people's hustles. Now I understand the grind that people are doing. Now I understand business people and owners and business owners. And I was like, wow, you know, it's a total different mind shift. So yeah, like it's it's been a crazy journey so far, and it's
only just begun.
It's only just begun. I mean, I have my whole life, you know, myself and Brandon, we have our whole lives together, like, you know, and it's going to be an unbelievable journey. So yeah, it's been, it's crazy.
You can tell literally even just by your body language, never mind you opening your mouth, that the passion is so apparent for this particular journey, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're definitely fully immersed in what you do, but I can tell that. I mean, we've had conversations before, and I can tell that from you, which is fantastic, because when people are learning from you, that's what they're getting. They're getting you all the way up here.
Oh, like it's crazy, because passion is everything, you know, and I'm lucky, like a lot of people haven't found their passion, but I'm lucky that pre, you know, the age of 25, I did help people in a way where I had a homeless friend over in Florida who I went to see, you know, twice in 1 year, or, you know, once every second, or not once every second year. I went in 2015, then I went back to him in 2016. Mm-hmm. But like, I would give money to homeless and stuff like that, but I didn't have that, or I wasn't aware of my caring nature. Mm-hmm. I had this kind of mask on me that, like, no, like, you know, you don't need to show people your kind of true colors. But like, when I immersed myself into personal development and self-development, and I was like, oh my God, like, I actually have such a caring nature to people, and I want to help people get from A to B, and not in the quickest time possible, but in the best time possible for them, in the best journey that they can have for them. And when I kind of really found that, I was like, whoa, like, this is something that, you know, I wasn't even aware of a couple of years ago, and now I'm like doing it, and it's incredible. It's amazing.
I'm delighted you're doing what you're doing, because when people find their passion and they follow it, it shows up, as do the people who have found their passion. Like, it's brilliant.
And I think as well, you know, sorry to cut across you.
No, go on ahead.
I think for people that haven't found their passion, they just, at the moment, that's okay, but they just haven't been poked or triggered enough yet. And once they do, that's it. They'll be like, right, you know what? This needs to stop. This needs to end. You know, we need to do something. How do I change the world? You change yourself, you know? So.
And awareness, you know, like you had that aha moment when somebody said one sentence in your ears. It can be as simple as sitting in a library, opening a book and going, oh my God, or being with a person who's a step or two or 10 ahead of you, and they say something and you go, oh my God. Those aha moments can happen at any time. And once that happens, your awareness is awakened, and you can't go back. There's no going back from that. Like, and it can suck. It can suck, because you're in that super comfortable place. You're in your comfort zone, which could be shit. That's fine. It could be a shit comfort zone, but it's still your comfort zone. And then suddenly you wake up and you go, oh man, I can't go back.
It's, your brain just gets, like, your brain is a muscle, so your brain just gets expanded, and once you know, it's like elastic band. Once it expands, it doesn't go back to the way it was, like, and you know,
that's a good thing.
Absolutely.
I'd like to talk a little bit about anxiety, because I'd love for you to tell a little bit of your story around that, if you wouldn't mind.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, anxiety is something that, you know, has affected me a lot, and I wasn't even aware of it until I started getting into personal development, because I used to mask it with drink and drugs and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And when I became aware that my anxiety had to do a lot with money, because growing up, you know, my parents did the best job that they could do, 100%. I wouldn't change any of them for the world, right? But growing up, my dad, you know, left when I was 8. And, you know, there was a lot of money issues coming in there. So, for example, my dad would pay the maintenance and that sort of stuff. And then my mom would be like, that's not enough and stuff like that. And there'd be a lot of him and hawing back and forth, you know, solicitors' letters and stuff like that. And I would see that, you know, on both sides. And then I would be the person in it, you know, because I'm the child that money is coming to me, it's putting clothes on me, food on the table and stuff like that. So growing up, I always had that kind of issue with money. And, you know, I started my first job when I was 10, you know, because I was like, right, I need to start getting up my own money. And I started delivering papers around my local estate.
Brilliant.
And even at 10, I was there saying to myself, right, if I get all these papers, can I bring on someone that, you know, delivers the papers and pay him or her, while meanwhile I'll still get paid, but I'm just that kind of middleman, or I'm just that little businessman. But you know, it's really interesting, and it's fed into my life now, and you know, I'm super grateful for my mom that has always, you know, been saying, oh, Karl, you're going to be an entrepreneur, like, you know, and you're going to do stuff. I know, I can see it in you. And that was probably because of, you know, what happened, you know, years ago. The seeds are planted, and then fast forward 10, 15 years and here I am. But, you know, growing up, there was always that kind of, not where the next paycheck was coming in. We didn't live like that. We lived a fairly comfortable life. I mean, a detached house, 4-bedroom in a suburb of Dublin, like, you know, people would cry out for that. You'd be like, oh my God, you're so privileged. But there was the whole emotional side of it, the emotional side of money. And that's what I talk about now, like, you know, in with my clients, with you know, the cash flow group that we have on Facebook. And it's the whole emotional side of money that people tend to get bogged down in as well. So when I was growing up, I did, as I mentioned, I did everything that I knew to do, that my parents taught me to do. I got the degree. You know, for some people, they don't get a degree, and that's fine. They get apprenticeship, or they just work, and that's fine as well. But I was still like, you know, I didn't have a label for it because I wasn't aware of it. My brain didn't have a label for it because it didn't compute. And once I realized, oh, that's what it is. It's anxiety towards money, you know. And it wasn't until 2 years ago, we were in Bali. We were at an event with Kate Marie O'Brien and Henry O'Brien, which are fantastic people as well. Where Henry we were just chatting, and, you know, we were going deep. And I was sitting there and I wasn't getting it. I wasn't aware of it. I wasn't knowing what label did I put myself in, or what box did I put myself in? What label did I have that has allowed me to have this anxiety? And then we went off for lunch, and Brona did the exact same process as well with me, and we were sitting down. And I was sitting there with Brona. I was like, oh, that was it. I labeled myself poor. Growing up, I labeled myself poor. But I got what I needed, right? And then when, in the career sense, I was like, okay, I have a job and I'm going to apply for a mortgage soon. But like, what happens, you know, going back to, like, you know, when I was 20 and I was like, is this it? Is this 40 years? Like, what happens if, you know, people are losing their jobs? Like, you're taking out a mortgage. Like, what happens if you lose your job? Like, so I started getting even more anxiety. And that's when the Rich Dad Poor Dad came in, because that, the teachings in that was saying to me, invest in a secondary income. And I was like, oh, is this allowed? Can you do this? Like, I didn't know. Is this what people do? I didn't know, like, you know. And investing in a secondary income, and then multiple incomes now, I was like, oh, that has decreased my anxiety when it comes to money. However, you know, that doesn't mean that I don't have anxiety now. It has helped nurture it. It has helped kind of control it. But there's still days I wake up, anxiety attacks me, heart is racing, and I'm like, whoa, you know, what's happening here? Like, and that's when I kind of get back into the zone, get back into the vortex, as Abraham Hicks says as well.
I love it.
Start going, how can I create more? How can I do more? You know? So yeah, and just on that, you know, the mental health side of things, like, it can pull you down, and it can keep you in a dark place, and not in a sense of depression, because anxiety is fearing of the future. And you know, if you look at the kind of timeline, is like, okay, what's next? Like, oh, I have to do this, I have to do that, and I have to do this because that's what I've been programmed to do. But like, what happens if none of that happens? And you're like, you're fearful, you start getting anxious, right? And I can see it in people. and I can feel it in people as well. That's a bigger thing. Like, and I can hear it in their words as well. And I have a lot of solutions, which is a big thing because I went through that.
Yeah.
You know, Brona, on the other hand, she does obviously suffer from anxiety, but her story is more depression based. Whereas even though growing up, I did have moments where I had suicidal ideation and you know, I thought about stuff, and, you know, I'd been in mental hospitals. I'd seen the damage that depression, suicidal depression, manic depression can do to someone who I truly love. You know, I was like, wow, like, I don't ever want that. So I'm going to try and not have that, you know? So, but mental health in general, when it comes to anxiety, depression, all the mental health, all the umbrella that it has, it's something that can be, you know, controlled and, you know, talked about, especially a lot of Irish people, not all of them, but a lot of Irish people. We need to talk about it more as well. And that's what I think a lot of people are doing, especially influencers and social media gurus and stuff. We're talking about it, which is great as well, you know? Yeah,
because we're such a self-depreciating society. You know, it's the norm to take the piss out of ourselves and to take the piss out of other people. But what we don't realize is even in jest, the things that we say can manifest in a very serious way, you know?
Yeah, like
it's psychology 101, but we're Irish, so we're like, we'll be grand. Sure, it'll be grand. But you know what's really interesting, you know, when you travel a lot, you realize that it's not just an Irish thing. It's so much more. And I remember I was at an event last November, and there was this Australian guy, and he said basically the same thing. Australians take the piss out of each other. We call it tall poppy syndrome, you know, where basically the tallest poppy get their heads chopped off. You know, there's this feeling of begrudgery, like someone starts doing well for themselves. It's like, who does he or she think he is, and that sort of stuff. And we don't call it tall poppy syndrome, but we call it whatever the Irish equivalent is. But you know, it's something that needs to be turned around. But in order for that to happen, there needs to be a better level of consciousness and awareness as well. And yeah, I could keep going, but no, but you're 100% right. And something that you said, so I want to talk a little bit about Epic Hearts Club, because you mentioned it. And something particular that you said there, which I think is really important, is the fact that you had mentioned that you didn't realize that you were allowed to go and have a second income, that you could possibly go out there and do more than the norm. I just have to have this one job. I have to go to college. I have to get this job, and I have to stay in this job for 40 years. And that's what's expected and required. And we're talking about human consciousness needing to be raised. Perfect example. So what's Epic Hearts Club about, and how can that help people with really simple questions like that? Am I allowed to have a second job?
Yeah, you know what? It's a great question, because it just comes down to awareness, but being open to changing of the awareness that you already have, because everyone's aware to the whatever certain extent they're aware of. But it's even just being open to a different perspective, a different thought process, a different angle of looking at it. And that's where we saw myself and Brona, like we saw some kind of gaps in the market, where basically a lot of people, everyone needs a coach or some sort of accountability, and whether that's a counselor as well or some sort of coaching. But a lot of people aren't going to fork out, you know, thousands. And some coaches do charge premium levels at 1,000, and even more. And you know, the average, I use that in inverted commas, the average person doesn't have 1,000 or, you know, more than thousands to fork out, even though what they're going to get is absolutely quality content, and it's going to help them. You know, the average person just doesn't have that, right? So Epic Hearts Club is basically a low cost, high value coaching club where you can join. There's no sign-up fees. There's no, you know, it's just a monthly subscription where basically you join and you get to that, you know, dip your toes in and say, do you know what, you know, there's a money mindset coach. Oh, what about money in this day and age? The whole coronavirus, like everyone losing their jobs and stuff like that, or not everyone, a lot of people. You know, there's there's no more job security out there. And you see that now. All it takes is for like a pandemic to happen and you're like up in the air. Like that's why you need multiple streams. And you know, you have like other people going through traumatic stuff right now, like people losing their jobs. That's like the carpet being pulled under you. Like that's a massive big thing. Yeah, it's absolutely, and you know, it's out there. And you know, if you want to dip your toes in and, you know, talk to a trauma coach, you can, which she's amazing, by the way. It's Kira. So like, yeah, you know, and you know, it's just about just seeing if that's something that you're interested in. And you know what? It's only like $25 per month. Like that is affordable. We want to make it affordable. You know, not that we wouldn't pay thousands for a coach. We have, we will, we continue to do so because we know the value. But it's just for that person that is a little bit unsure on whether or not they even want to coach. And just to go in, check out some, you know, yoga. You know, we've got a great yoga breathwork coach. We've got a great health and nutrition coach who's like Arnold Schwarzenegger. He's an absolute beast. Like, so, you know, and then we've got a money mindset coach, which is me. Hey, you know, so we chat a little bit about money mindset, and we give out documents, we give out handouts. You know, obviously I'm not a financial advisor, I don't want to be, but we just change the mindset of when it comes to money generating more wealth, and even we touch on business as well, if that's something that you're interested in, and just seeing the other side of the coin.
It's incredible to have a platform where there's 4 coaches who are delivering once a week, every week of every month of every year. And the content is phenomenal. It really is phenomenal because each coach is showing up, giving their 100%.
Yeah.
And you're right. There's people who just need to get on the ladder.
Yeah.
And they don't have 10 grand to, and like you're saying, it is worth it. There are coaches who are worth their weight in gold.
Absolutely. 100%.
But if you don't have it and you want to learn, what do you do?
Go to Epic Hearts Club. Sign up to
Easy
Epic Hearts
breezy.
Club. Yeah, easy breezy. You know, yeah.
I love that. So how can people get in contact with yourself and Brona to join Epic Hearts Club?
Yeah, so basically find me on Facebook, Karl Davidson. The only thing I would say is that if you add me as a friend, you get an automatic adding of Brona as well, because we come as a pair. You know, so if you're going to add me, you might as well add Brona as well. You can follow me on Instagram, following Karl Davidson. LinkedIn, you can check out my LinkedIn as well. Don't have a website just yet, but I'm working on that in the background. And then once you find Brona Lyons, you'll find me right beside her. So yeah,
brilliant. And can people also, is the best bet for people to join in Robert Kiyosaki's group that you run? Is the best way for them to get to that is to just add you as a friend, and then they can find that too? Or is there a place that they can find that group?
They can just search it. Search on Facebook, Robert Kiyosaki Cashflow 101 Ireland, and our group will come up. We've got over 2,000 members there. It's going to grow. I see it being about 5,000 members by the end of the year. And, you know, we're one of the biggest cash flow groups in the world. We're one of the most active. You know, we're actually on Robert Kiyosaki's website as well. So if you search on his website, richdad.com, you search Ireland, you'll see us, which is great. And that's something that Brona, in her just genius brainwaves came, I think it was back in 2016 or 17. She was like, why don't we just set up a cash flow group, you know, Robert Kiyosaki cash flow group? And I was like, all right, yeah, like just run with it. And yeah, it's been phenomenal. We've got guest speakers in there, you know, we've got so many people coming from different backgrounds, different entrepreneurs, different employees, different business owners and stuff like that. And they're all just giving value. And it's just a massive, great big community as well. And not only that, we've got the kind of sister group as well. We've got Empaths, Connect, Protect, Inspire. And that is more so to do with personal development, setting boundaries. We've got fantastic speakers in there as well. And again, that was created by Brona as well. And it's just it's a hub of positivity. And it's a place where you can come in and get what you need to get and then leave. And then just come when you're down, come when you're high. It's really, really incredible group. And I think there's over 1,400 members in there as well. And from that, obviously, you can get connected with Epic Hearts Club. And yeah, it's pretty cool.
It's brilliant. I want to give a little nod to something, actually. I would like to give a little bit of a representation to yours and Brona's very obvious love. I love the fact that you've spoken about her so much through this.
Yeah.
And I just think it's so lovely. It's a testament to your relationship, and it's great how you've gone through this personal development journey separately and together.
Yeah,
Powerful stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it's very important when you have a partner that supports you.
Mm-hmm.
I think in whatever it is that you do, as long as you have a partner that supports you, and you're behind them 100%, you know, and that's it, and you stick up for them, and you'll be there at their lowest points, you'll be there at their highest points as well. And I think traveling as well, when you travel with your partner, the more you travel with your partner, the more you open up as well, and it's just phenomenal, and it's just been an incredible journey. And it's a person that, again, just completely shifted my mindset, you know, without a doubt. Like, so yeah,
it's gorgeous. It's lovely to watch and
thank you, I appreciate that.
Now that you're talking about travel, I would like to ask you a little bit about travel and I suppose what it is you love about travel. Is there something that you got involved in, and kind of where do you see travel going at the minute, you know, particularly in the times that we're in?
It's a great question. I feel that it's going to be a rocky road for the next couple of months. Definitely with the whole, when you get to a country, you have to quarantine for 2 weeks and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, people are always going to travel. They're always going to want to get to a sunny destination, or the Alps, or, you know, go down to South America. You know, it's a massive industry. I love it. I love traveling, and that's to do with my dad. My dad, when I was, I think, 5 years of age, this is my earliest memory of traveling. He brought me down to the west coast of Ireland, past Clifton, and a lovely little small village called Ballyconneely. I wouldn't even call it a village. It had a church, it had a pub and a post office and a crossroads. And I think, you know, it's stunning place. And he brought me down there when I was 5, and that really had set off the whole traveling. Every year we went down there. It was absolutely phenomenal. And then I just started, when I was 18, I started traveling more. I kind of traveled with a group of lads, but alone. They went off and they did Interrail, and I just went with them to one city and came back. I did a lot of travel on my own as well. Did a lot of travel with my job as well, and, you know, got introduced then to a travel club, and it just made sense. And I was like, right, great, happy days. I can travel more with these. And it just definitely opens up your whole mind. I mean, like, I do a lot of volunteering trips as well, where, you know, for example, I was in Malaysia, and I was at like an orphanage, and I was just like, it's just a different feeling, you know. You're really grateful for what you already have, and you just see different worlds, you see different sides, you taste different foods. I'm a big foodie, and like, I love, you know, the food, the different foods, the different tastes as well. And you only get that if you travel. I mean, yeah, you can go down to your Italian restaurant and get some Italian food and stuff like that, but if you don't go to Italy and you don't taste the real authentic Italian food, you know, then it's nothing, you know. But I mean, it's something. I haven't been to many countries. I've only been to, like, I think 35 or something like that out of like 195 or 6 if you include Taiwan as a country. I do personally include Taiwan as a country, but other people don't, which is fair enough. But yeah, I mean, even last year, myself and Brona were, like, in 2019, we were on 4 different continents. Like, it was just a crazy year traveling. This year now, we're obviously chilling back at home in Ireland. But the minute, like, we're already looking at travel, we're looking at some cruises, we're already looking at, you know, going places. And once the restrictions kind of ease a little bit, we're going to travel. You know, it's inevitable. Like, it's in us, like, to travel. We get itchy feet. I don't know. I honestly don't know how we've managed. If there wasn't for a pandemic, like, you know, we'd be, you know, traveling more now, you know. So, but I think it just broadens the mind. It just opens up different opportunities. You just see and you connect with different people. Like, last year we stayed in, like, this hut in Samoa with a chieftain and his family, and it was just it's just an experience. I mean, you can talk about an experience, but you need to experience the experience, you know, to actually feel what it's like. So it's a big thing. Volunteering as well. I love volunteering. That's something that I will be doing a lot more as well, because I think it's very important to give back to people. There's so much people out there that need help. And I think it's very important to give back. And, you know, if you can stay in a luxury 5-star hotel doing that, then happy days, you know?
I love it. It's the juxtaposition between one and the other. Yes, I'm in a 5-star hotel, but I really genuinely want to help. And I think it's totally possible. It's totally possible.
Absolutely.
I love that. Okay, well, I would finally like to finish up with one last thing. And you've had a ton of experience. You've done a serious amount of personal development, self-development, and between you doing it for yourself and doing it with Brona, and all of the traveling and all of the people that you've listened to and the seminars that you've been to, I'd love to know if you had a quote or two, or maybe a message that you'd like to leave people with.
Yeah, so 2 quotes, and one of them actually only popped up today, and I was like, oh my God, I've got that tattooed across my ribs, which was actually really, really interesting.
Synchronicities.
Yeah, I know. How does that work? I don't know. But so that quote was, joy wouldn't feel so good if it wasn't for pain. So, you know, with life, I mean, life's not fair, you know, and no one said it was going to be. So you will go through pain and struggle, but, you know, on the other side of that, you'll have your joyous moments, and just embrace those, bask in them as long as possible, because it's inevitable that you will have pain and struggles, you know? So that'd be the one of the 2 quotes. Joy wouldn't feel so good if it wasn't for pain. The second quote comes from Confucius, and I adore Confucius. I think he's just an incredible philosopher. I really got into him when I was living in China. I listened to his Analects, and, you know, I went to a lot of his temples over there. And Confucius is a philosopher. He studies, you know, and that's something that, you know, even after my 3rd level education, I kept on investing in myself. A lot of people don't. A lot of people spend very little on their education once they leave formal education, whether that's just your secondary school or, you know, 3rd level. And that's something that I pump into every single month. I'm always listening to something new. I'm always reading a new book. But it's actually a quote that a lot of people get mixed up with, and they say that Henry Ford says it, but it actually stems from Confucius. But don't quote me on that, but you can quote Confucius on this. And it's basically, he who says he can and he who says he can't are both usually right. So if you say you can do it, you can do it. If you say you can't do it, you won't be able to do it. You can't do it. So it's a fantastic quote that I live by as well. So
I love it. And I use it regularly. I think it's absolutely brilliant, because it puts everything to bed, really, doesn't it? If you say you can or you say you can't, you're right. Good job.
Yeah,
you know?
Absolutely.
I love it. Well, Karl, I appreciate your time, and thank you so much for coming on and giving such value to people, because it is what you do. Whenever you do something, you provide value, and I think you've provided plenty of it through this. Thank you so much. I really do appreciate that, Ciara. Thank you. It's been a pleasure, and I'm sure I will chat to you throughout the week. Thank you.